Monster Hunter Wilds is a game that I have very strong opinions about. Recently, as many of you know, the game has been review bombed on Steam to the point where I'm not even sure it'll ever recover. Now, back in the day, I used to be a pretty heavy console player, and honestly, I still am for a lot of adventure games and sports games. But there was nothing that made me more irritated than having PC players who were playing games through Steam get entire games killed because the game wasn't playing well on their 13-year-old PC that honestly might as well have been a Chromebook trying to play VR. Now that I have a gaming PC though, I completely understand a lot of the nuances that come with PC gaming. And that brings me to the topic of today's video and the topic of many of the reviews for Monster Hunter Wilds. And that is that the game runs like a trash can being thrown down Mount Everest. Now at this point, some people are probably calling me dramatic, and you might be right. Sometimes I can drag it a little bit, but let me be clear that this game runs like absolute garbage and like no one has tried to optimize it at all. In my experience, most of the graphical settings for the game simply just don't even work. You spend hours and hours trying to kind of play this puzzle of trying to figure out what, different settings will give you, some frames here and some frames there. And for me, I'm getting maybe 40 FPS on a good day. And the most egregious part of this whole thing is that the game just doesn't even work when you try to drop the resolution. I've never played a game where you drop it to CRTV levels and that makes no effect on the actual gameplay experience. Nothing whatsoever helps in optimization with frames, with anything. It just doesn't work. And I'll be the first one to admit I don't have the beefiest PC in the world, but considering that I can run Cyberpunk 2077 at 60 FPS at 1440p with some light ray tracing here and there, I should certainly be able to run a Monster Hunter game. Now for my rig, I've pretty much got it down to this. There seems to be like this massive CPU hog that this game has, and I'm not sure which part of the game it does it. I'm not sure if it's the procedurally generated environments, some areas where you have the rolling different weather and things like that, or if it's just the crazy amount of particle effects they put in the game. But for me, it's mostly the CPU hogging everything down. And it seems like at some point they didn't really work on like getting the CPU and the GPU to actually talk to each other. So it's just throttling back and forth between, using your CPU a whole lot and then not using your GPU nearly enough, or using your GPU a whole lot and not even using your CPU. And it's just like this terrible load balancing. And I'm confused how anybody like let this come out this way, because it's been this way for a while. I've just been ignoring it because admittedly the game is fun. And honestly, like aside from the just god awful optimization, I do think this is one of the more strongest games in the series. Just hear me out for a second. The thing that makes this game really good, in my opinion, is that it cuts down on a lot of the hunt times by like a massive amount. And so for people like me who work and commute a lot, this does a lot for just, being able to grab resources on the go, which also they have significantly dropped the, crazy RNG that there used to be on items and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a lot more generous and I'm not wasting so much time trying to get one armor set. I can get the armor I need through a couple, maybe 2-3 runs at the max, and then I get the whole armor set and I can keep moving on playing the game, and it's a fun experience. But I think one like pretty obvious caveat of these major life changes in the game, quality of life changes, is that it hurts the natural player progression of the game, and I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. Now, a lot of you have seen the Reddit post of like the OG players who, going, oh, the game's too easy, it's not fun, yada, yada, yada. And with them on that point that it's not fun because it's easy, I disagree with that. What I do think it hurts, like I said before, is that it hurts your natural player progression. And what do I mean by that? So basically, when you have a game that's this easy where like newer players, for example, like people who have never played anything outside of Monster Hunter World, right? Like if you're coming into Wilds, you can spam heal through like the first 60% of the game, and you'll pretty much just keep rolling through the story, just taking every monster on the chin. And I'm not sure if it was designed that way on purpose to get people to the hunter rank earlier or what. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but there's a lot more newer players in this game. And so that makes matchmaking with randoms a horrible time. Like some fights are just downright just absolute rage bait, because you'll be playing with somebody and it's obviously their first time playing a Monster Hunter game, but they've just been like healing and running in this game so much that they've never actually learned how to fight. And so you'll watch somebody Instacart in the same situation 3, 4, 5, 6 times, run after run, because they have just not learned to actually like fight and learn patterns. They just gotten so used to tanking every single little thing. It just becomes this horrible experience for your more seasoned players when some guy named, I don't know, Legend 245 swan dives into the most massively like obvious AoE attack known to man. But to be fair, this is something that's hardly new to games, especially not MMOs. But I do think it's something that's very new to the Monster Hunter community. You mostly have hardcore fans playing Monster Hunter, so that's where a lot of these comments and complaints I have are coming from. Also, a final tidbit here, and I may get some people disagreeing with me on this. I personally think the story in this game is like one of the weakest that I've ever seen. And what it does, honestly, it just removes the tension from every single situation in this game. Like in most of the games, you're like a fledgling monster hunter. You're just arriving into the village or wherever you're at, and it's like you are there to, you know, follow in someone's footsteps or, you know, protect the village as, you know, this young fledgling hunter that you've always grown and wanted to be. In this game, you just show up as basically Mr. God. Like, I mean, it's honestly insane. So it just removes all the tension. Everyone runs away and just expects you to solo this monster with seemingly no background other than he's the hunter, you know. Like it's kind of sucks, honestly. And I think that may be like the icing on the cake of, you know, you got bad optimization, right? You've got really poor, you know, player progression for new players, so it makes playing with newer players as a seasoned player a really terrible experience. And then on top of that, you get a story that like everyone, like including myself, is just spam skipping through because there's legitimately almost nothing there to care about or want to even engage in, because it's just boring. I'll say it's boring. It's the most boring Monster Hunter story I've ever seen. So overall, I think Monster Hunter Wilds was honestly like a solid 7.2 to 7.4 out of 10 if you just get all the ugliness out of the way and just look at it as a game. I think it's a pretty good game. And it would have easily been an 8 out of 10 if not for all the things that I was mentioning earlier. But hey, they still got time to fix the game, and I really hope they'll, you know, optimize it, get some more content in the game that'll keep it fresh, keep it exciting, keep it fun. And yeah, hopefully they'll address all that stuff with time. But that'll be it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think about Monster Hunter Wilds. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Which game was your favorite in the series? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Mills out.